Hey guys, welcome. Once again, camera's still down, guys. I gotta try to get some money together to get me a new computer or something, being that my laptop web camera is down. Anyhow, I still want to react to this. This just come out today. The Wackiest Mathematician Nobody Talks About from the Blue Jay channel. I almost said oversimplified.
Oh, hello there. I was just musing over the memories of my dear Alex's childhood. Oh, how cute. His first science fair. He was oh so nervous to present his work. I mean, I couldn't hear him. I was watching from 20x binoculars from across I-95, but still, I could imagine. You know, the mind of a child is a beautiful thing. Take our little Timmy here. His young brain not but a fresh slate, primed and ready to educate, rendered free of malice, connivery, or hate. The whole world is new to him, his name just a pseudonym. Each day a brick of experience that builds him to an eponym. That's right, he's just so stupid. And so naturally, this pathetically pliable flesh blob of neurons is enticingly ripe for manipulating. But that's not just my opinion. It was precisely the hope of one 19th century mathematician who conceived the world's first jungle gym for the purpose of developing a child's brain to comprehend the fourth dimension. That's right, class. Today we're gonna learn about Charles Howard Hinton, eccentric inventor, pioneering sci-fi author, and one of the wackiest and most influential mathematicians you've never heard of.
Just so you know, I mean, I was decent at math. I was a pretty good math guy, but I was not into anything like that. No clue who this guy is.
From the moment he was born, Charles Hinton's life was marred with misery, as not only did his father ostracize his family by being a devout advocate of polygamy, but because he was born British. Growing up in 19th century England under the care of a wealthy surgeon who laid so much pipe that his most notable quote was, "Christ is the savior of men, but I am the savior of woman," is bound to lead any child to be a bit eccentric, and Charles was no exception. His earlier years were rather ordinary. He went to university, got married, dined with eugenicists with a piss kink, you know, typical British things. But it was only after receiving his bachelor's degree from Oxford that things really started to get interesting. In 1880, Charles shook the intellectual world by publishing his essay, "What is the Fourth Dimension?", where he provided thought experiments for a theoretical conceptualization of a fourth dimension of space. While he didn't invent the concept, his paper popularized the idea of the fourth dimension for the first time in history. But it wasn't just the vogue of academic circles. While the late 1800s saw an explosion in scientific advancements, it also saw an explosion in societal wackiness. We are talking about the Victorian era after all, and 1880 just so happened to be the peak of the spiritualism movement in Victorian England. Ooh, I can see him. He's right there in the fourth dimension. My father? You're sure? Oh yeah, that's him alright. But he's in a pinch. Looks like the 4D cartel is holding him for ransom. We need 50,000 space coins to speak to him with his head intact.
The 4D cartel, and you need 50,000 space coins.
What? Holy shit, they could die again? Yeah, and it's messy. Blood gets literally everywhere. I had to shoot a ghost in Bangkok from Paris and found brain matter in my trunk in El Paso. Anyway, I got a guy we can shake down for some cash. Here, hold this. What is it? 4D gauge pump action for intimidation, and also if any Tesseractosaurus come by. But be careful, the buckshot expands infinitely in all 3D directions, and it goes off for, like, no reason. Jesus! Pedro! How's it going, my man? I wouldn't do that if I were you, hombre. I've got a wormhole bullet aimed right at little Miss Isabella's cabeza right now. How's about you cough up that money you owe me, or I'll give her kindergarten class a lot more red paint for arts and crafts time.
Well, damn.
Shit, it's the planner feds. Who the fuck did you talk to? I've just been here, man. Shut up. Damn it. Oh, God. Okay, put this on. It'll de-dimensionalize you. Follow me and keep quiet. Okay.
I'm stupid.
Hello? What the? God damn it, he took my wallet. Psychics and mediums alike. Wait a minute, are you cold? No, I'm fine. Oh my gosh, you're shivering. I'm really not. Here, child, I'll take care of you.
Oh, Lord.
Has modern news got you feeling bogged down? A little crushed, suffocated even? death toll from Israeli strikes. Meanwhile, right-leaning sources call Iran's response escalatory, with phrases like great devastation. And that's exactly why I've been using Ground News for over a year now. It condenses all those wacky headlines into a side-by-side format so you can actually compare coverage and get a grip on reality. For my visual learners, imagine these feral chickens are the mess of headlines out there, and this semi-automatic incendiary round shotgun is Ground News. Pretty cool and digestible, right?
Yeah!
That's pretty good,
Here,
too.
knock yourself out, kiddo. As everything moves more and more online, avoid showing. If you want to join me and get smarter about your media diet, go to ground.news/bluejay to get 40% off their Vantage plan. Make sure to use my link to get the discount, and it's a limited time deal, so
What
he's
is
glad
going
to have
on?
Ground News as a sponsor. And now, back to the video. Psychics and mediums alike seized onto the emerging popularity of the fourth dimension as a scientific validation for the spiritual connections they peddled in their seances. While Hinton's original essay didn't make mention of anything spiritual, he did start to write about religious implications later on, and his publisher threw more fuel on the fire by adding the subtitle, Ghosts Explained, to one of his republished.
Hey, I will tell you, I did not believe in ghosts growing up. Someone told me I needed to tell the story. I told little bits and pieces, but when I was 18, yes, my dad told me he doesn't believe in ghosts. He believes in fallen angels, demons, in other words. And honestly, I think I agree with him, because never hear of a happy ghost, never had anything to do with anything like that that was not physically trying to harm me. Yeah, like, dude, I got locked up. I couldn't move for might have been 15 seconds, but it felt like 10 minutes. And when you're pinned down and cannot move, it's happened 2 times in my life. One time I had just woke up, and the other time I hadn't went to sleep yet. But man, I want to tell you guys, but then again, I don't know what to do. But yes, I do believe there is demons, possibly ghosts. I think there's demons that they try to act as people. They take form of it. They make sounds of it. And a lot of times you'll hear they try to sound like a kid. And it's not a kid. It's just something acting like a kid.
Papers. Gotta sell this nerd shit somehow, after all. But scientific essays alone were a bit too boring for Hinton. If he was gonna write about mind-bending theoretical science, he was gonna do it in style. So before it was ever even considered a genre, Charles chose to express his thoughts on the fourth dimension through science fiction novels that he called scientific romances. One such work, titled Stella, followed the story of an invisible girl, a rather novel concept at the time, which went on to influence H.G. Wells' titular book, The Invisible Man, kickstarting the modern-day invisibility trope prevalent throughout Western media. In one of his nonfiction works, Charles Hinton invented a new theoretical geometry to aid in the visualization of the higher dimension, a fourth-dimensional hypercube that he called a tesseract, a word I'm sure you've all heard many times before, if not from your own study.
I will say, if you're watching that little square, that is pretty cool how it's rotating, and it just makes it look like the inside is coming out.
Of theoretical physics, then from that one MCU-obsessed relative with a questionable lock screen who's racked up more hours watching The Avengers than they've spent in a shower. And while we have words like up, down, left, and right to describe 3D motion, Hinton also defined the terms for movement along the fourth-dimensional axis as kata and ana.
Okay.
First the MCU, and now
Katana?
literally the word katana broken in half. I can't help but wonder if he was actually a genius or just another weeb born too early for Reddit. These are fascinating ideas, Charles. Kata and ana, you say?
And see, whenever he said kata and then ana, and I was reading it in my brain, and I was like, katana. At first I thought it was going to be katana, but no, it's katana.
You have any accompanying diagrams I could ponder? Oh yeah, it's just in my room. Wait, don't go in! Oh my god. You like Demon Slayer? Bro, that shit's peak! But regardless of any theoretical karma farming, his impact cannot be denied. From a cult
I wish I could do editing like this, man. I have no clue how to do it.
to filmmakers, Hinton influenced some of the greatest stories of the 20th century, setting the groundwork for the dimensional horror genres that plague internet culture today. I mean, even the great H.P. Lovecraft took inspiration from Hinton's theories. I've been excited to hear about this next big thing you've been working on, Lovecraft. You say it was inspired by this Charles Hinton figure? Yeah, so check this out. It's about this autistic ninja kid with a fox demon thing inside him. He's got a crush on this pink-haired ninja chick who hates him, but she's got a crush on the edgy ninja kid with magic eyes. So it's really funny when the autistic kid kisses the edgy kid because they're fighting over a seat in class or whatever. Now, the kid wants to become the leader of the ninja village, so he gets training from a registered sex offender named Jinraya, who agrees to teach him so long as he keeps turning himself into a naked girl for him to ogle at. I don't know, I was pretty high when I wrote that part. Anyway, shit gets crazy and there are these epic sword battles like shoom, shapoo, and they throw ninja stars like phew, phew. But before you get to those parts, there's like 10 hours of the kid delivering muffins and talking about believing in himself or some shit. What? Here, just take a look. Naruto. What the fuck is a sexy jitsu? It's peak, trust. Yeah, I don't know what this is, but it makes me want to shower, so I think we'll pass. You're missing out. This idea is gonna pop off one day. Yeah, maybe if everyone gets stupider from people putting lead in gasoline or whatever, but that would never happen. Whatever. So, do you have more horror books? Yeah, I've got more fucking horror books. But just as one dimension wasn't enough for Charles, neither was one wife. So he went from questioning the laws of reality to the laws of society by marrying and having twins with a second woman. Now, you may be wondering why a published and intelligent mathematician with everything going for him would risk...
Well, I was just going to say, did he have twins with the first wife, or just had twins with the second?
breaking the law instead of just having an affair like a normal privileged man. But perhaps he thought if he collected enough wives like Pokemon, he could achieve a fourth-dimensional ball and chain. Of course, he wasn't able to keep his double life secret for long, so shortly after getting his master's degree, word got out and he was arrested for bigamy, destroying his reputation and work prospects in England. Oh, Charles, you've done it this time. Guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. Looks like you're gonna have to find somewhere else to live. Huh, maybe he was a weeb. Hinton fled to Japan with his first wife and kids, where he found work as a headmaster at Victoria Public School. It was here that he had his fourth kid, well, with this wife at least, and it was also here that he came up with a theory. Hinton hypothesized that since we humans spend our lives moving in 2D planes, such as from point A to point B on a road, that if a child were to be raised to move intuitively in 3D space, they would be able to conceptualize the fourth dimension. Now, one could accomplish something like this with a whimsical series of trebuchets peppering the clouds with toddlers, but that would leave a child a bit more 2D instead of 3D, and thus unable to articulate their newfound enlightenment. So to test his theory, Charles created stacks of bamboo cubes arranged in an XYZ coordinate system, where he would run experiments by yelling out spots for his kids to race to. This way...
Wow. Okay, so he's supposed to be like a genius, kinda, sorta, and yet... what? You're just telling kids to go to certain spots, and you're expecting them to what? Go into another dimension? You just got the kids playing.
This way, a child could develop a fundamental understanding of 3D spatial movement with relative safety, even if it was lamer than my idea. X3, Y2, Z4, go! X1, Y4, Z2, go! Garage fridge, go! Blue ribbon, go! Pour in mouth, go! Dad, can we stop now? No! You're learning math. Now cigarettes, CVS, Second and Girard, go! Despite his efforts, it's a universal law that creatures inhabiting one dimension can't perceive the dimension greater. 2D Sonic, for example, can't see the third dimension, just as 3D Sonic struggles to grasp the fourth. For more information on this concept, Google Sonic Rule 3-4. But because they were essentially playing the 19th century equivalent of Minecraft, these drills ended up being more like playtime for the kids than rigorous science.
Look at her, I was right. That's pretty much all you had them doing was playing.
So much so that Charles' youngest son, Sebastian, went on to patent the design later on in life, introducing the Jungle Gym to schools across America.
Oh my god, that is how come jungle gyms can't, like, it's the sole purpose. Like, you couldn't go to a different dimension, but your kids can play on it and possibly break an arm, even a leg, depending on what they're doing. Definitely some broken arms.
For the first time ever. While Hinton isn't around today to shout out coordinates, at least his fourth dimensional experiment can live on as a staple of any good playground. And who knows, maybe one day his experiment will bear fruit.
We're gonna play on the jungle gym, Mom.
Alright boys, have fun. Well, look who's back. Did you kids have fun playing outside? We have ascended to a higher plane of being, Birthgiver.
Time and matter no longer bind us to their laws.
We've grown beyond the musing of this play you speak of. Aw, you boys are too cute. Now who wants some juice? I do.
Of the apple, perhaps.
After a few years, Charles left Japan for America, where he took up a job as a professor at the College of New Jersey, the school that would soon become Princeton. It was here that Hinton took a rather unusual turn in his career, as he found himself assisting the school's baseball team with a new invention. Utilizing his mathematical genius, Hinton designed and patented the world's first baseball pitching machine.
Huh.
Which used gunpowder. Well,
What?
boys,
Whoa.
what do you think? Terrible!
I totally wasn't expecting it to be a gun. I thought maybe some kind of trebuchet type-ish deal.
This is the world's worst pitching machine! Well, at least I didn't invent the world's first bitching machine. The invention was impressive and versatile, able to adjust speeds from fastballs to no balls, and even featured extendable rubber appendages that could provide a light ball tap for stimulating curveballs. The device turned him into a pseudo-celebrity throughout America as he showcased its capabilities, which included striking out the entire Princeton team. The gun...
But you gotta stand there and aim the gun where you want it to go. Maybe it had a stand on it. Maybe I paused it early.
Powder gizmo would be short-lived, however, due to, according to the New York Sun, the fear it inspired in the batters. Probably due to the fact that the baseball gun resulted in multiple injuries.
I wouldn't
Who would
doubt
have
it.
thunk? Charles would then leave his job at Princeton, with some sources stating he was let go due to the pitching machine injuries. He had a few more jobs, teaching at the University of Minnesota, working at the U.S. Naval...
Dude, how fast was them things flying? I mean, I know 40 millimeter grenade launchers. I mean, they're shoot pretty fast. This is back in the day with musket and gunpowder. That's just crazy.
Naval Observatory in D.C. and landing his final job as a chemical patent examiner. But Hinton never lost his fascination of the fourth dimension, as he continued to publish various works throughout his time in America. In April of 1907, Charles found himself addressing the Society of Philosophical Inquiry in D.C. It's reported that the polygamous British mathematician made a toast to all the female philosophers before leaving the dinner, suffering a cerebral hemorrhage, and dropping dead in the lobby.
Wow.
This goes out to all the baddies out there. Keep up the philosophy and may your curves stay sexy in every dimension. Mr. Hinton, maybe...
Oh, I thought he was going to say it every turn. But dimension makes sense. I just thought he was going to say, you know.
It's time for you to go. Oh, hey, baby. Listen, I know we can't see 4D, but I can show you 1D back in my jungle gym. Oh no, look, he died of a sudden cerebral hemorrhage or whatever. That's
Wow.
crazy. Charles Hinton's life is interesting enough on its own, but throughout my research, I found myself just as invested in certain branches of his backstory outside of the bamboo ones. His family tree. If you thought Forrest Gump had a special gene for stumbling into so many events of historical or wacky relevancy, that gene was dominant in Charles' entire lineage. His dad, James Hinton, when he's not being remembered for his woman spelunking, is often associated with Jack the Ripper due to his connection to a potential suspect of the serial killer. Charles' wife, the legal one, Mary, had the maiden name of Boole, as in George Boole, the creator of the Boolean logic that laid the foundation for the information age that's allowing you all to sit there right now and watch the Subway Surfers gameplay under this video on TikTok. Charles' sister Ada was a fashion influencer and dressmaker who thrived at the forefront of the rational dress movement, working for some of the most beautiful stars of her time. but not of all time. One of his grandsons, Howard, became an etymologist, famous for not only his lifelong work studying beetles and discovering an extra stage in insect metamorphosis, but also for, despite all that, still finding a way to get laid. One of his sons, Jeffrey, became a computer and cognitive scientist, winning both the Turing Award and the Nobel Prize in Physics for his work in artificial neural networks, earning him the nickname the Godfather of AI. But perhaps his biggest claim to fame is being the clear inspiration for Shrimp from Smiling Friends. Charles' granddaughter, Joanne, was a nuclear physicist and one of the rare women who worked on the Manhattan Project, creating the very atomic bombs that would terraform Japan into the anime wonderland of her grandfather's dreams. Regretting her part as a nuclear future inducer, she moved to China during the peak spicy years and helped contribute to Mao Zedong's vision. Her brother William documented said spicy years while working the fields, returning to the States with notes on the so-called freedomless land, which were confiscated by the FBI, who blacklisted him from any teaching or employment in the land of freedom. He published books on his revolutionary experience in China, bloody violence and all, justifying it and selling hundreds of thousands of copies. A pretty sick nasty feat, but not nearly as sick nasty as when he ski raced in something called the American Inferno behind this guy. Sorry, I just wanted to give you a moment to take in what may be the hardest image I've ever seen. Seriously, I could...
Yeah, but he's wearing one of them sweaters that people now wear at, Christmas time or whatever, the tacky sweaters.
Go on for hours. Like, I didn't even mention the first Sea Lord in the family. While Hinton's story was cut short at the age of 54, his mark on society was only just beginning. His theory shined again in a cyberpunk novel in the 1980s, and he's even referenced in a 2005 teleportation feasibility study commissioned by the US Air Force. Which just goes to show that you should pursue your dreams, because even though your name may be lost to history, there's a chance that 100 years from now, even your ideas could help kill people in Iraq. Charles Howard Hinton, 6 out of 10 stars.
Alright guys, well that is the end of this one. That was good. I like it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think it's odd that a lot of these people that were related to kings or just someone famous that come from usually the Europe era and then end up being famous in America, whether it's Congress or something, they all seem to have ties going back to... It's almost like they just get in due to who they're related to. I've always thought that. I heard that one of the kings way back over in Europe, that a lot of our presidents have been related to him except for Donald Trump. But yeah, anyhow guys, let me know what you thought about the video. I hope you all have a great day. I hope to get a new computer or a different setup to where I have a camera. Until then guys, I will catch y'all on the next one. Take it easy and be safe.